Some of our career people can play just as dirty as the meanest of your big business pirates, Wilder, and they want you O-U-T.
There's not one of them I couldn't skin for breakfast.
Don't imagine our minister's on your side.
That'll be the day when Caswell is. He suggests that I go to Warsaw with Novak.
In writing?
Well, I'm not going anyway. There's not enough in it.
That's irrelevant. It'll give the security boys a field day.
Pity.
Even Fowler knows you're no security risk.
He's discussed it with you?
And others. No, he thinks you're out to line your pockets on some Polish deal.
Does he?
So it seems does Lord Bligh.
Lincoln, whose side are you on?
I sit on fences.
Not you. John's or the department's?
Neither. Yours.
Shouldn't you, as a commie, even a westernized one, think twice before using VIP facilities denied the common people?
Dry French with a hint of gin. I remembered.
I'd be flattered, Lady Wilder, if you knew as much about me.
You're a full-time flatterer yourself, yeah.
When I flatter, it's not to deceive.
Flatterers look like friends as wolves like dogs.
Lincoln, how clever.
It was, when stated 300 years ago by a Frenchman.
Nobody of any importance here, eh? Only the British and Soviet ambassador.
Your information wasn't exactly a gem of accuracy. Dress formal, black tie.
I was misled by my people at the embassy.
By mine at the ministry.
Well, take a tip, Novak. Keep out of Wilder's way.
Where are your scruples, Caswell?
You're bent on self-destruction.
Survival is my game. I'll be around long after Fowler or Bagenal.
Bagenal?
I assumed our distinguished ambassador to Warsaw had been in contact. Longer even than Dowling.
Dowling?
Our young genius. Lincoln himself.
Wilder seems to think I blabbed or gave misleading advice about your telegram.
Well, then Wilder knows more about it than I do. What telegram?
From Warsaw to your stockbroker.
Look, when John asks Keith to sell my shares, Keith knows better. He doesn't.
But to buy.
When John buys for me, he buys wisely.
He bought Listons, 20,000 in your name.
Listons? What are they, heavyweight boxes?
They make road-making equipment.
Well, here's to motorways.
You could say you sent a telegram without his knowing.
I'll say anything, any time to help John.
It will help him and me.
Well, then I'll say it, Lincoln. Too. Darling, I thought you were in disgrace.
For a Labour camp?
You hoped. They realized I'm too useful in Britain.
How bad?
A moment.
For me? Jan, darling.
Come on, Hesketh. Mr. Nightingale here has been a great assistance to me in going into this matter.
By that, I suppose you mean in having him followed, tapping his phone calls, and generally invading his privacy.
That's right.
We do actually regret many of the things we have to do, Jayston.
Still, as you always say, it's for the good of the country.
Yes. I must say, intellectually, I'm not wholly happy about some of my country's pursuits, but it's the only country I have. What's Mr. Dowling's function in Sir John Wilder's office, Jayston?
Well, he's here.
No. What's he there for? Wouldn't I be right in supposing that he's there on somebody's behalf to make sure that Sir John Wilder, the outsider, the non-professional diplomat, doesn't do too well? Everybody protects their own interests, Jayston.
I take it you want me to speak to Lincoln and tell him to see less of Lady Wilder in case of scandal, is that it?
Oh, good heavens, no. We mustn't invade all his areas of privacy. As a matter of fact, the possibility of a scandal could well be of enormous help to us, couldn't it?
Heathcote, you're disgusting.
Oh, no, no, Jayston, I'm far from disgusting. But I am quite efficient, though.
When you were a professor of Greek, I quite liked you. I suppose you're after your K like everyone else.
The world, Jayston, the world. We are its playthings. I wouldn't mind a K, though.
I'm not overjoyed at the idea that one of my people will be working for you.
Well, at least, my dear, you'll know that this one is working for us, won't you?
Do you think we can go through with it?
Well, the freeloaders won't care if neither of you, as long as there's food and drink and lustful wives to chat up. And as long as this trip isn't made public, which it won't be until it's too late, the others will have to come out of politeness.
Well, there we are, then.
Oh, yes, I suppose we are.
You disapprove?
No.
Yes, you do. You think women oughtn't to give parties. They give them for the wrong reason.
Don't they?
Well, parties organised by men would turn out to be either board meetings or orgies.
Both of which have certain interests.
Oh, go on. You're just trying to impress me. You're a man of the world. I bet you've never been to an orgy in your life.
Have you?
I've been to a board meeting.
Orgies are just as dull.
Oh, go on. You haven't been to one. Have you?
Well,
Really?
in a place called Baharish. It was either that or insult the sheikh. He thought he was being polite to us, so we had to go through with it. It was awful.
Well, what happened?
No, you don't want to hear.
Well, what happened? What did you have to do?
Well, there was this enormous tent. The floor was covered with the most fabulously expensive Bokhara carpets. And down the middle was this long, long table. And right at the end were about 20...
20 what?
young girls.
What were they wearing?
Well,
Anything?
a sort of filmy...
Go on.
I think the job of people like me is to help absorb the changes into society and make them work.
Are you in a position to?
No,
But you are ambitious.
probably.
Then you'll probably be able to. Tell me, why have you been doing something as trivial as helping me arrange a party?
Because I think Margot Fellowship is one of the £1.50 of cotton wool people, and I don't see why they should always win.
And you think I'm not a cotton wool person?
No. No, I don't think you are.
Thank you, kind sir, she said.
Except that you have that flippancy. Perhaps because you're all afraid of showing very simple emotions.
Am I?
I don't know. Are you?
What an extraordinary question. What?
What?
I'm simply going to ask. If you had taken up cybernetics, what?
It's almost 1 o'clock. I should be going. If I had taken up cybernetics, I would have made a machine that whistled to itself as it worked, quietly, so as not to disturb anybody else.
Thank you for coming to dinner.
You realize I'm not talking of journalists and that like.
I think I know what you mean.
And naturally, we don't gaze with any delight on any form of double allegiance, although we recognize that some have to come about. What I'm really trying to point out to you is that in order to be able to resist, should one wish to, the advances of any external interests, one must keep one's life excessively tidy.
I quite understand that.
Yes. Well, naturally, I don't wish to intrude on what is in fact your private life, and which I'm sure is responsibly conducted.
As far as possible.
Yes, quite. However, should you ever be approached, it may be that it's already too late.
I don't understand you.
Well, quite understandably you don't, all of which seems to show that there's nothing to it. However, it could be construed
Nothing to
on...
what?
You've been seeing rather a lot of Lady Wilder.
I've been doing nothing more than help her with a guest list for a party she's giving.
Lincoln. As men, we can always find time to assist attractive women in the most trivial preoccupations. We don't seem to be able to find quite so much time to assist the unattractive ones.
I assure you.
Yes, do, Lincoln. Do assure me.
Oh, yes, all right. It's probably quite true.
Yes? In what sense?
Only in the sense you say.
Good. Well, now, having settled that...
But finally, when their tribal rules became meaningless, they went mad. And like the brontosaurus, unable to adapt, became extinct and turned into an attraction at a tourist centre.
I wasn't going to say that at all.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say we might read that as a nation, its previous trade outlets dwindling, it found it could only penetrate its new areas of influence with a new kind of diplomacy.
And that new diplomacy being?
Well, shall we say that its spearhead is trade?
Followed by?
Well, I suppose it comes these days under the heading of public relations.
Or what in the old days used to be called spying.
Oh, I do think that's a most unpleasant and inaccurate word.
Unpleasant, but not inaccurate.
But these days the objectives are so much more... Well, that's only academic. Don't you believe that we should maintain our influence in these areas with every means possible?
Yes, I suppose in fact I do.
Of course you do, and so do all the other nations. My dear fellow, the trouble we have here with the CIA, here, there, and everywhere, it's terribly busy people.
Mr. Mobbs, what are you proposing to me?
We require your assistance.
And what if I refuse?
Oh, my dear fellow, nothing, absolutely nothing. This isn't the KGB.
Isn't it? I was warned this morning that my friendship with a certain lady could well be misconstrued in some quarters.
Oh, dear boy, what an awful thing to suggest.
Well, presumably you actually want me to work for you, or you wouldn't have approached me.
Well, of course we want you to work for us. We'd be pleased to have you with us.
But you'd be prepared to write it off if I said no?
Oh, we'd have to, dear boy. We'd have to, wouldn't we, and no hard feelings.
Then what would happen to the dossier you must have built up on me? You'd destroy it?
Well, that is one of the least likable parts of our job. It covers such a wide area, you see.
In what way?
So many departments use us, you see. It's often quite dreadful, I agree, but the sort of thing that might happen, say, was that you were up for promotion to a job that was pretty heavily classified. Is he secure, they might say? Is anything known? Is he circumspect in his relations with, say, women? And among others, they would quite probably come to us.
I see. Not a concern that seems to have troubled them much in the past.
Well, things have changed.
Oh, everything's changing, isn't it?
But of course, this is only a hypothesis. Naturally, we'd like you to join us because you wanted to join us.
You would be less worried had I not been entirely circumspect with, say, women.
Oh, my dear fellow, I'm sure there's nothing to it. And in any case, that liaison could well be of great help to us.
But which I wouldn't be prepared to use.
Oh, no, we wouldn't ask you to, my dear boy. We wouldn't ask you to.
Would Fowler know about this?
Oh, yes, certainly.
How would he feel?
Oh, Jayston wouldn't object. He was once with our department before the war. He has one blazing star of achievement beside his name. He recruited Kim Philby. Eat up your meat, dear boy. Eat it up.
I sometimes think the Greek idea of the angry fates wasn't so far off the mark. One does something because it seems right, because it seems to be the things one believes one stands for. Humanity, the country. Only to find one has done it for quite the opposite reasons. And even then one can't be sure where right or wrong comes into it. I suppose the decay of religion took away our sense of moral absolutes. Makes it quite impossible to give advice. Did you accept?
Yes, I suppose so. More or less.
Well, I expect it'll help your promotion.
Well, lovely party, then. I don't know how you do it.
How did you do it?
I telephoned out at Central 6 on a quite different matter and happened to mention that Willie Fellowship's cousin had died and the funeral would be on the 28th. Therefore, it was unlikely that Margot, etc., etc. They all phoned her up offering their condolences, hoping to see her when she got back from the funeral. She couldn't not go.
I believe it's quite delightful in Mablethorpe at this time of year.
Yes, one gets such a splendid view of the holiday camps. Now, what else can I do for you?
Well, you can hang around until afterwards and help with the washing up, if you like.
All right.
All right.
John, darling, I thought you weren't going to be here.
They weren't there, Caswell.
Well, what happened to them?
Apparently a group of distinguished refugees crossed the border yesterday with no trouble at all. They were met by a group of Americans who put them on a scheduled KLM flight to New York. There were 3 journalists, a professor of philology, and a team of heart transplant surgeons. Nobody called bisect to be seen anywhere.
No?
There was a man called Mobbs wandering around looking very worried. Do you know him?
No?
So I caught the next plane home. Our people there thought it was the best thing to do. I don't blame you, Caswell. I think probably we've both been used. You can spare the time. I can't. Anyway, whoever came out, the CIA got them, which means that I can come to your party after all.
Cool. Well, we'd better circulate, I suppose.
What did you do? Bribe the CIA?
You don't have to bribe the CIA. They believe in free enterprise.